Hi everyone, I'm Bianca from Love Loves YA. I'm so super excited to be chatting to Louise Bassett today, all about her thrilling recent Love Loves YA release, The Hidden Girl. Hi Louise, thanks for joining
Hi,
me.
Bianca. Thank you. And hi, everyone. Great to be here.
Awesome. So, for those who might not have read The Hidden Girl yet, can you tell us a little bit about what it's about?
Sure. It's a young adult mystery crime novel set in Indonesia, in Java, and also in inner city Melbourne. And it's the story of Maladi Nelson, who's hidden her delinquent past and pretending to be a model student at a new school, but kind of losing her grip on that. And then when she uncovers a life-threatening secret in another teenager's stolen diary, she's got to decide whether to act and seek justice for this young woman and put her own life on the line in doing so.
Yeah, I could not put it down. Just had to know what was gonna happen. It
Thank
moves so
you. Music to my
fast.
ears.
Oh,
Oh,
amazing.
excellent.
So, I want to know a little bit about what went into creating the story, what was the inspiration, and also it
Mhm.
was shortlisted for the Ampersand Prize. So can you tell us a little bit about the creation of it and what made you submit to the prize?
Sure. Well, the initial idea came from living and working in Indonesia. I used to be an aid worker and I was working with some human rights activists there, and through them, met women who are survivors of trafficking and heard their stories, and talking to them just had a really huge impact on me. So that was kind of one of the threads. And then, sort of on a more lighter note, I guess you would say, I was stuck in floods in Jakarta, and I was at a friend's house, and all he had in the house was, I think, coffee, strawberries, bottle of vodka, and some Buffy the Vampire Slayer DVDs at the time. This is pre-streaming. So we ended up binge watching those because we're sort of marooned at his house. It's like floodwaters around us, waiting for them to subside. And it was really sort of a bit of a mashup, thinking, what if Buffy didn't have superpowers, but was an ordinary girl in an extraordinary situation? And what if she wasn't battling vampires and demons, but was fighting traffickers instead? So, pretty unlikely threads in a way, but they started to merge together and grow from there.
Works
And
so
then
well though.
um, yeah, I guess, yeah, the mashup always takes you in interesting directions. And it's sort of, yeah, the classic what if, I guess you could say, and then letting myself daydream. Um, and Ampersand Prize, I'd always had my eye on it, and, it just seemed a great opportunity for emerging young adult writers, and submitted to that. I think you did the whole manuscript and the synopsis, and yeah, getting shortlisted was a real thrill. But even better was the feedback I got from the Hardy Grant publishers. So it was really insightful feedback, and I remember getting it at the time and thinking, yeah, this really would make it a better story if I acted on this. It took me a while to have the energy to approach the redraft and do it again, but I
Oh,
think
definitely.
it made
Yeah.
it a better story. Yeah.
Oh, so you implemented a lot of what feedback they gave you?
Yeah, I mean, not all of it, but the stuff that resonated with me, and I thought, yeah, that would work better, and quite a few tweaks there. So yeah, but it's
I
just sold.
Yes, I actually want to talk about Malati a little bit because I obviously would never have picked up the Buffy bit, but now that you've mentioned it, it's yeah, that's what sort of drove me. I just loved her character because she was such a go-getter and so dedicated and was just so good to spend time with, even in such a fast-paced novel, it was just yeah, loved her, such a go-getter. So what, obviously started with a bit of a Buffy vibe, but what else went into creating her character?
Well, thanks for saying that. I've had some really nice feedback around Maladi, which, just is really warm to my heart because you get so attached to your main
Yeah,
character when you're
absolutely.
writing it. I think it was really her backstory that was the key for me. Once I got that, it sort of fell into place. So she does have this sort of delinquent past, which she's hidden, and she's got a bit of feeling a bit of shame about that. That's sort of unresolved. So that's driving a lot of her, I guess, inner conflict. And I wanted someone to, I remember as a teenager feeling like really caring about a lot of issues, but feeling like, what can I do about them? And,
Mm.
sometimes being a bit defeated. But Malati is probably who I would have preferred to be on that count. Like, she refuses to give up and thinks she can't do something to change this situation for the young woman affected. So, yeah, that kind of refusal, I guess, to give up on someone and give up on getting justice. And I guess also she's got this impulsive, determined, and can be reckless side, which got her into trouble in the past. But it's sort of about how do you take that and not try and, cut out that, suppress that part of your character, but how do you make that a strength? So how do you channel that
Yeah.
in a constructive way? So, I mean, we've all got our flaws, but I think at the other end, they can be strengths as well. So it's sort of about that process of her getting to know herself better and how she could use her powers for good, I guess you could say.
Yeah, absolutely. That's and it is one of those novels, and when you're hanging around with Malati, you do wonder what you would do in that situation. And it's such a huge thing that she does, but it just still felt so realistic and like, something that she could do and she did. And yeah, it definitely made me wonder if I would have been as brave as Malati.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that I would have been. I'd like to think I would have, but
You would like to,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, but no, thanks for that feedback. I was aiming for it to be as, realistic as possible and, reflecting,
Absolutely.
10-year-old's powers really. So,
Definitely. So, what we're really talking about is the child trafficking, which is really one of the central plot threads of the novel, which is hugely confronting and quite sensitive in any genre, any book. But this one is obviously YA, specific for teenagers. So, can you talk us through sort of how you went about tackling, such a huge issue in a YA book?
yeah, sure. Um, I think that initial experience in Indonesia and meeting with women who are survivors and hearing their stories, that really gave me the confidence to pursue it. I think if I hadn't had that experience, it would have been pretty daunting, especially as, a first time novelist. So it really started at that point, even though I didn't know back then that I'd be writing a novel about it. And then, further work I did through aid work had exposed me a lot to human rights abuses, that kind of thing. So, yeah, it is a really confronting topic, but kind of in my work, I'm probably more used to dealing with some of that than some of my readers would be. And with writing for YA, for me, it was always a balance of, I remembered myself as a teenage reader, and sometimes I wanted to deal with big issues in my reading because it was like a safer place to work through those issues, grapple with it, and sort of really confront them. And I think a lot of those issues are out there anyway, on the internet or whatever other sources. But yeah, I think what young adult fiction can do is do it in a more balanced and sensitive way. I guess the other factor too, I wanted to leave young adult readers with a sense of hope, like not leave them feeling hopeless at the end of it, but also balance that with it being a realistic depiction as well. So that was a process throughout all of the writing and even up to the final kind of edits, working with the editor at Walker Books. I think I probably wanted to end on too positive a note at one point, and she was like, would this actually happen? And we had, big discussions about that, but it's sort of getting that balance of hope and realism. So yeah, as well as the sensitivity there. But I think, yeah, I mean, exploitation of young women is a worldwide issue, and this is sort of, just one of the most confronting versions of that, I guess.
Yeah, no, it really got me thinking because obviously the book is set between Indonesia and Melbourne, and I think Melbourne is a lot more tangible for a lot of these readers.
Mm.
And just got me wondering, like, oh my God, does this actually happen? Like, I knew nothing about it. I don't think it's really spoken about a lot. So I think it is super important. And it, like we were saying before, it does make you think, what can I do about it? So I think, yeah, just sort of raising that awareness in obviously a really safe space in this book. Yeah, it's really incredible. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, really grim, but good to know, I feel.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you mentioned about being in Indonesia and working as a human rights worker. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Did you go back to do some more research? And I also want to, I read somewhere that you have been in like a volcano or something.
Yeah, not quite in a volcano, luckily. But
That's good.
yeah, yeah, I have climbed a few, and yeah, the climb that Malati does to Merapi, where she's sort of on the neighbouring mountain and then sees the lava erupting and all of that. I have done that climb, so that was yeah a pretty thrilling experience there. So yeah, I before I lived there, I'd gone several times when I was doing aid work, and but then lived there for about 2 years, and yeah, just found it a really fascinating place, really complex, incredibly friendly. And so I have gone back there quite a lot. Haven't gone back living in Melbourne for a little while. So, but I'm going to Ubud end of October for the Readers and Writers Festival there.
Festival,
So
yeah, amazing.
taking, yeah, so taking the Hidden Girl there, which I'm really excited about. Be really special to go back there with it. So yeah, so I would say it's sort of self-funded holidays, but yeah, so that kept, bits of my language going. It's lapsed, that kind of thing. But my contact with Indonesia and the culture that kept that going.
Mm.
And because I was keen in young adult fiction too, you don't always see a lot that depicts another country. We get a lot where people are coming from another country and having to adapt to Australian cultures,
Mm.
but not so much the other way around. So yeah, I wanted to bring a bit of that in as
Go
well
on a
because I
school
just
trip and yeah.
yeah, exactly, and give readers a bit of that vicarious experience. I think travel's such a big part of I guess such a rite of passage really for a lot of young Australians, and like Indonesia being our closest neighbour and all of that. And yeah, where you are in Perth, so many people have got
Yeah,
connections to Indonesia. So
absolutely.
yeah, but it's just a little curious we don't see more of that. So yeah, but I know a lot of teenagers who, are very interested in the broader world, not just their immediate kind of orbit. So I wanted to bring a bit
Yeah,
of that in as well. That makes sense.
good
Yeah.
point. And I've never been to Indonesia, but the descriptions in the book are just so tangible. And even if I hadn't known a little bit about you, I would have been like, she's lived here, she knows it. Like 100%. It was done really well. And yeah, I would like to see more of it, more of this the international countries for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Oh,
Felt like I was there
fantastic.
for a little bit, but without all the bugs and
Yeah.
you know,
And all the sweat.
and all the sweat. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe come to Ubud.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been eyeing off that Readers and Writers Festival.
Yeah. It'd be great. So
Yeah. So you spoke a little bit about wanting to end the novel on a really hopeful note, but was there anything else that you wanted readers to take away from the story?
so I guess that yeah, I kind of think about like dare to care, like dare to care about an issue and other people and then dare to act on that. So I guess I'd sort of sum it up that way, and a bit about what we talked about before with Maladi. We can all have our character flaws, but if you flip it around, can that be a strength as well? So it's
Yeah,
really,
fantastic.
yeah, around those things. So yeah.
Oh, there's just so much packed into this book, and you can read it so fast. It's so thrilling. So, thank you
Oh,
so
thank
much.
you.
The Hidden Girl is out now. You can grab it from your nearest bookshop or library, I'm sure. If you want a really fast paced, but obviously really emotion packed read, I highly recommend The Hidden Girl. And Louise, thank you so much for chatting to me today.
Thank you, Bianca. And lovely to get all that feedback. I'm really
I'm
glad
so
you
glad.
enjoyed it.
Anytime.
And thanks for having me.